All right, good afternoon, everyone. Let me welcome you to the Burke County Board of Commissioners pre-agenda Zoom virtual meeting for September the 1st, 2020 here at 3 o'clock p.m. At this time, I will do a roll call. Vice Chair Mulwee.
Present.
Commissioner Abley.
Here.
Mr. Britton.
Here.
Commissioner Taylor.
Present.
All right, Madam Clerk, we're all here except for the county manager who, like we said, is out with an issue with his back. I see JR is on board along with Kay. This time I would ask you to look at mobile devices. If you have anything close to you or anything that would make some background noises, please, if you would, silence those this time. And also, if you are speaking, please introduce yourself for the record. Moving on to our item number 2 is the approval of the agenda. So we'll have a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of consent items number 5 and decision item number 1. Those items are not needed.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Abley. Vice Chair Mulwee.
Yes.
Commissioner Britton.
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
And I vote yes also, okay, so that takes care of the agenda. Moving to our presentations, our first one will be from Animal Services, our Best Friends, a Life-Saving Award. And with that, I will turn that over to Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Again, I'm substituting for County Manager Steen, who will recognize the Burke County Animal Services staff for being awarded the Transformational Change Award from the Best Friends Animal Society. This is an award for the highest increase in life-saving progress for shelters that admit between 2,000 and 6,000 pets for 2019. And Best Friends Animal Society's mission is to end the killing of dogs and cats in America's shelters. So I would ask that you just do that at our regular meeting.
All right, gentlemen, questions for Kay on this topic? All right, hearing none, I would like to say I'm very proud of our friends down there for receiving this award. It is obviously well-deserved. All right, without objection and consensus to leave this item on the agenda, Vice Chair Mulwee.
Yes.
Commissioner Abley.
Yes.
Commissioner Britton.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes, we need a girl applause for those ladies. So let's
Yes,
leave it on there.
Thank you so much. And Madam Clerk, I'll vote yes on that one too.
Thank you.
To item number 2 from Animal Services is the Pet of the Month. So Caitlin, are you on there with us?
Mr. Chairman, I don't see Caitlin on the Zoom meeting. I'll be happy to present this item if you'd like.
All right, go ahead, ma'am.
This is a placeholder for Animal Services staff to present a dog or cat in need of its forever home at the regular meeting.
All right, without objections and consensus to leave this on the agenda. Vice Chair Mulwee.
Yes.
Commissioner Abley.
Yes.
Commissioner Britton.
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
And I will vote yes also, Madam Clerk. Thank you so very much. Moving on to item number 3. This will be regarding a proclamation proclaiming September as National Recovery Month from Burke Recovery, presented by my best buddy, Kim James. I see you on there. You go, lady.
Well, thank you very much. That's quite an introduction. I wanted to share this proclamation. September is National Recovery Month, and so I wanted to highlight a few items in the proclamation. The main is that we have conducted some surveys since last year and found out that the age of first use, which covers alcohol, prescription drugs, illicit drugs in Burke County, is actually 13 years old. That's really young, and that is an average age of first use. So we are actually seeing use and demonstrations of use from elementary school all the way up to high school. Just to give an example, we have children that are crushing and snorting Smarties. So that behavior is learned and visualized at some point and often reenacted. So our push with labeling September as National Recovery Month is really a recognition of that full continuum of care, from prevention to intervention to treatment and into recovery. So we're asking that the Board of Commissioners put together approval for this proclamation, discussing that we need education, awareness, and prevention across the board. Not just for opioids, which I realize is one of our main focuses, and I know that the board has worked tirelessly to push that effort, but also with alcohol and other substances. I also do want to share that we are pushing a lot of community engagement through social media, which is our current platform to reach people where they are. All of that is being done through Burke Substance Abuse Network and through Burke Recovery. And we will be capstoning September as National Recovery Month with a rally type event, not quite the same as we normally are able to do, but a socially distant, safe event on September 26th. I would love to be able to present this proclamation at that event.
All right, gentlemen, questions or comments for Kim?
Mr. Chairman, Maynard Taylor. Kim, I just had one that kind of shocked me. I believe it's on page 6. That's the second. It's pretty close to the top where it says the average. It's the second whereas, I believe. And it shows that the average, now this is the average age of first users is 13. Is that accurate? That just seems so young. That means somebody 7 and 8 is doing this, correct?
Correct. That is a very young age. And we are seeing that becoming a national average as well. So in Burke County, a lot of the prevention efforts are pushed through middle and high school. We are currently doing a modeling program through New Dimensions Public Charter School to prove the efficacy of prevention in an elementary setting and being able to put counselors in those environments as well. Pushing prevention. That's the only way we really stem use, is to push prevention. We hit all angles, but we really need to improve that 13.
Well, sometime I'd just like to sit down and talk with you because we can't get into a long discussion today. But, you know, sometimes we, through prevention, educate young kids who don't have the maturity to make a decision to make the wrong decisions. And I just, you know, I've seen this in several incidents through my life where sometimes we educate and the education works against us instead of for us, if you get my drift. And, but it's just, that just shocked me, and just wanted to make sure that that was accurate, because if you repeat that, you want to make sure it's a true number. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Well, I just personally want to give a shout out to Kim at Burke Recovery and BSAN for the great work they're helping us do in the opioid lawsuit that Burke County is privileged to be in. As everybody's aware, we're doing negotiations with the Attorney General. Kim's been able to secure letters from different organizations here in Burke County to support our cause of having any kind of settlement money come back to the county where it needs to come back to, so that we can apply that money to the agencies that really need it here in Burke County. Again, we feel like that being down here in the county, we know what's happening, and we can use that money much better for that purpose. So Kim, again, we thank you and Burke Recovery and Burke Substance Abuse Network for everything that you have done. And again, thank you for the privilege for us to do this proclamation. Any other comments, gentlemen? All right, hearing none, without any objection, we'll need consensus to leave this item on the agenda. Vice Chair Mulway?
Yes.
Commissioner Abley?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
And I will also vote yes. All right, thank you, Kim.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to item number 4 is our scheduled public hearings, and we have none. So that will move us to the consent agenda. The first thing on the consent agenda this month is the Board of Commissioners resolution in support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. even though we just sat here and went over the pitfalls of substance abuse and substance use, we also have to continue to remember that there are other diseases out there that take our loved ones away. And again, that breast cancer is one of those things that just happens to a lot of people. You can see it every day. Every one of you probably has some member of the family that has some issue with the breast cancer. Every year, I always make you aware of the fact that I lost my sister-in-law, and then my wife also is still recovering from breast cancer. Actually, had some more tests done recently because of another issue that arose. So I hope we don't forget the breast cancer awareness, and be sure to wear a pink in recognition of that. Anybody have any questions or comments regarding this resolution? Hearing none, and to have consensus to leave this item on the agenda, we'll do the roll call. Vice Chair Moe?
Yes.
Yes. You say yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Abley?
Yes. Commissioner
Britton?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes, sir.
All right, that'll be unanimous, Kay, for that resolution. Moving on to item number 2, it's consideration of legislative goals for 2021 to be taken to NCACC. I sent all of you, I think, an email or some documentation to see if anybody had anything that needed or they wanted to see be presented to NCACC for our legislative goals process for 2021. We still have our top 5 priority goals that will continue. Those have not been satisfied yet. Broadband being our number 1 top legislative goal. Did anybody else have anything that they felt like we need to send for consideration?
Johnny, what are they going to do about the year, like the meetings of the board and all that? Are they going to be much like this, or are they going to have meetings, the banquet at the end of the year? What are they planning so far on all that? And if they're not, I think it would be a good thing to somehow maybe let the officers that are in there now serve another year. I think it's only fair for that to happen if things don't change.
Okay. I honestly cannot tell you what's going to happen. Right now, the last thing I heard, everything is still going to be by Zoom meetings for a while till the governor goes ahead and gets us maybe into number 3. You know, we're still sitting in the number 2 session. He has to go into number 3 to open everything back up. So right now, I don't know what's to happen, honestly.
But in fairness to the officers, that they really, when you look at it, the term they're going to serve, they're really not serving the term, but not a way we would think so. And I would think we should lobby for those officers to be able to serve a full year, a regular type year.
Okay, you're talking about having the in-person year.
Right.
Okay, all right, I will put that on paper and submit that then. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
this is Maynard Taylor. I wanted to comment on a couple of those goals and also suggest we look and just didn't have time to get this done before our meeting to get it to y'all. As a matter of fact, I did part of it after we came back from the groundbreaking for the business park. But anyhow, on House Bill 241, and that's on page 13, and that involves a 1.9 billion with a B bond, and I have shared with Hugh Blackwell over a year ago, and now I'm sure that I would not support that. But the thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is that the General Assembly has already, since that came up, has 1.5 billion with a B for the K through 12 construction. If you recall, we did the lottery, and you know, they never have up the money to all. We were promised when that lottery was done that no school would lack for funds because of the theory and the formula they used for construction. And they never have up that to the amount of money that it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be 40, and I still 40%, and they still around 30%. And the other thing that I wanted to bring into that formula is I don't know how they can think or even plan anything till we get to at least a mediocre stage of the COVID-19. A lot of, we're being told by print and newspaper, radio, TV, that a lot of people will not return to school. They will stay homeschooled. So what I'm saying at this point, gentlemen, is that I feel like we really don't know what the needs of our public schools are going to be for the next 5 years. And so for that reason, I think we need to do that. On page 17, we need to make comment just for it's the HHS. And the reason I bring your attention to that, the dates on that and the last sentence, it's already passed. And just to show to the General Assembly that we do read it, changes from March 1st to July 1st, 2020. This is September 2020. So I don't know if we need to bring it to their attention. I'm sure I'm not the only one that noticed that. Let's see. Also, to consider, I think the number one goal, the highest goal that we should have for the next year is a massive, detailed job search placement plan. It'd be much bigger than county by county or region by region, meaning several counties. It needs to be statewide, if not multiple statewide. And of course, the goal would be to match an individual, his education, job skills, and experience to ready available jobs now, putting people back to work as fast as we can would be the most beneficial goal North Carolina could have to all citizens, to government entities. The individual wins, the state wins, and America wins by putting people back to work and grow that tax base and go, you know, it's a double whammy when you're not taking in the taxes you used to, and yet you're paying out money for people to have money to live on. So it's a double win if we do that. And I also think that it would be wise as a second potential goal to develop a priority guideline of how to spend the COVID-19 money. And my whole purpose for that is this, that we hearing all kinds of rumors of giving people bonuses and big pay raises, et cetera, and they haven't lost their job. I think the highest priority of any county should be for those people who have not worked for 4 months and don't have any income, except for what may be provided by the COVID-19 money. But I think that would be should be developed by a statewide committee. But we definitely need, you know, my vote would always be for those who are really truly hurting. I don't mean just, and I know we've got all kind of people who are filling out information. They're laughing and joking that the government is paying them, and they haven't missed a day of work. We got some businesses that have got nice big chunks of money One told me he got $20,000 and he's an individual employee, runs his own company. And he got all that money from the COVID-19 funds. And I know they're following their guidelines to do that stuff. But my point is simply this. There's a lot of people that need to be given to first, and it is not people who are receiving, full-time work or work plus overtime. A lot of the entities in our county, the people are getting paid for overtime. So to add more money to that, I think is just a crime to the other citizens who are in so much more need. But I'll offer those two suggestions, and the board or Johnny, you could take that and do what you wish with it. But I feel like they need some consideration.
Well, there's two ways to do it. You can do it yourself. I sent you a link where the form is that you can send the goal in yourself. We don't even have to send it in as a board. And you said it so eloquently. If I'll get Katie to resend that link to you, you can go in there and just type that up just the way you said it there, or have it written in front of you today, and submit that on behalf of Burke County. That would be fine with us. I don't think anybody have any objections.
I understand that, but from my understanding, if we present a goals to the state, it should be approved by your local board first.
Doesn't have to be. You can send it in individually if you'd like to, but if we can go ahead and write it up and we can send it in as a board, that'll be fine. We can do that also.
Either way.
Okay. We'll just go ahead and do it as a board. If you can just kind of send me or send Kay the comments that you had today, and we can type it up from that. How about that?
Well, I did a little ad lib and I don't know how.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, if you'll type it up and send it to me, I'll add to or take away. Can you do that?
Certainly.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Does anybody else have any comments regarding the legislative goals for 2021? All right, hearing none, and for consensus to leave on the agenda, we need a roll call. Vice Chair Moe?
Yes.
Mr. Abley?
Yes.
Mr. Britton?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And I will vote yes also, Madam Clerk. All right. Moving on to item number 3 is from Madam Clerk regarding the Adult Care and Nursing Home CAC. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Seat number 8 on the Adult Care Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee is vacant. An application was received from Ms. Ann Holland, and the Regional Ombudsman, Christina Franklin, has vetted the applicant and recommends her appointment. She and I also reviewed the roster for this committee, and we need to remove Helen Wilson from seat number 10 due to a resignation. We talked about this briefly in 2019, but did not take any action. So we have confirmation now that we need to remove Ms. Wilson.
All right, questions for Kay on this appointment? All right, consensus to leave the item on the agenda. Vice Chair Moe?
Yes.
Commissioner Abley?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And I will vote yes also, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 4 is from Madam Clerk again for the Board of Adjustment appointments. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Seat number 1, 3, 5, and 6 on the Board of Adjustment require some action. Seat number 1 represents the East and is occupied by Jenny Cook. She is willing to serve another term. There are 2 applications on file, one including Ms. Cook's, but the reappointment of Ms. Cook is recommended based on her experience and many years of service on the Board of Adjustment. Seat number 3 represents the West, is occupied by Robert Love, and he is willing to serve another term. Seat number 5 is the East-West alternating seat, and it's occupied by Ed Halliburton, representing the East right now. He's willing to serve another term, but because this seat converts to the west on October 1st, and he is an East resident, he's not eligible for this seat. We did receive an application from Joyce Cunahan, a Morganton West resident, and her appointment is requested to fill this seat. Seat number 6 was occupied by Gary Kling, who resigned in May. Seat number 6 is the East alternate seat. There are 2 applications on file, but the appointment of Ed Halliburton is recommended based on his years of experience and many years of service on the Board of Adjustment. I'd be happy to try to entertain any questions you may have.
All right, gentlemen, questions for Kay on these appointments?
Mr. Chairman, just one for information. Madam Clerk, is there a maximum number of terms that you can serve on this board?
I believe there are 4.
4.
Mm-hmm.
Has any of those reached 4?
No.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
All right, other questions or concerns? All right, for a consensus to leave on the agenda, Vice Chair Moe,
Yes.
Commissioner Abley,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
and I will vote yes also, Madam Clerk. Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 5 from Madam Clerk again is Planning Board appointments, okay?
That's the one we removed, Mr. Chairman.
Removed. Okay, I'm sorry. Got it.
That's okay.
On to our next item from the Tax Department is from the Tax Collection Report for August 2020 from Danny Eisenhower, our Tax Administrator. Danny?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I did rearrange this again, this time at the request of the County Manager in case you say, hey, it looks a little different. He requested that we put the percent collection between the amount collected and the balance to collect for easier reading. Anyway, property tax, we're at 64.26% collected, which leaves us a little over $15 million to collect. Motor vehicle at 20.27% collected. Current year taxes, 60.12% collected. Delinquent taxes, 33.63% collected. Late list penalty is 58.11% collected. And then when you compare just the property tax levy itself, not the budget, we're at 65.15% collected. This the levy amount will change next month, as typically during September we get the public utility values and they will be added to that.
All right, gentlemen, questions for Danny on the tax collection report? All right, hearing none, for a consensus to leave this item on the agenda, Vice Chair Moe,
Yes.
Commissioner Abley,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
and I will vote yes also, Madam Clerk. Moving on to the next item will be the release refund report for August 2020. Danny?
Okay, we had releases in the amount of $42,604.30. We've had $5,720.02 rebuild, which give us a net release of $36,884.28, and there was $615.76 in refunds. The vehicle tax system, we had no refunds reported.
All right, questions for Danny on the release refund report? All right, hearing none, for a consensus to leave on the agenda, Vice Chair Moe,
Yes.
Commissioner Abley,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes, sir.
and I will vote yes also, Madam Clerk. All right, moving on to our next item is the appeal of a failure to penalties. Danny?
Hey, gentlemen. To give you a little bit of background, Burke County entered a contract with Evans and Associates to perform business personal property audits on companies operating in Burke County. The purpose of these audits is to ensure that these companies are properly reporting their business assets for taxation. After the audit is complete, if the company is properly reporting, a letter of compliance is sent. If the audit reveals not all assets were reported, a letter of discovery is sent. This discovery letter lists the amount of variance by year and lists the associated penalty percentage in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 105-312. This penalty period covers the current year and up to 5 years, beginning at 10% and increasing 10% for each year. Example of that, if it's 2 years old, then it would have a 20% penalty. Okay, I broke this appeal down into 2 parts. The first part, in 2019, Evans and Associates, as an agent of Burke County, contracted with Gresheimer and arranged a plant tour, which was conducted January 16th of 2020. From this tour and review of their balance sheets, Evans determined there was a variance between the balance sheet and what was reported. This proposed discovery information was sent to county listing staff to review on January 30th of 2020. During this time, Evans continued to try to get additional details about these variances, but were unsuccessful. A notice of discovery letter was sent March 20th, 2020, and I believe I have a copy of that attached. This letter gives the taxpayer 30 days to appeal the findings of the discovery per North Carolina General Statute 105-312-D4. Gresheimer did not respond to this notice of discovery. With no response, the tax office mailed Gresheimer a discovery bill for the 2018 taxes with a penalty of 20% and a discovery bill for the 2019 with a 10% penalty. And that was in May of 2020. Since the audit began in 2019 with the first letter, the penalty amounts were based on 2019, not 20. This saved Gresheimer 10% for each year. So what we have in the first part, we have penalties for 2018 of $796.14. For 2019, $728.56, which gives us a total of $1,524.70. Then we get to the second part of this appeal. Businesses are required to submit their business listing between January 1 and January 31st annually. This is North Carolina General Statute 105-307A. Requests for an extension during this regular listing period can be made. An extension may be granted up to April 15th, according to General Statute 105-307C. During the listing period, Gresheimer applied for and was granted an extension. Gresheimer failed to submit their 2020 business listing form, personal property listing, during this extended listing period. In late June, staff still had not received a listing form from Gresheimer. Therefore, staff had to roll the 2019 values forward and apply a 10% penalty before creating the bill. So therefore, we have 2020 listing penalties of $9,125.59. Gresheimer is appealing these penalties assessed on the 2018, 2019 audit, and the 2020 failure list. These 3 bills were paid in July to take advantage of the discount Burke County offers. They are also requesting a refund of the penalty amounts. Their letter is attached, dated August 14th, 2020. Like I said before, they did file and receive an extension. The penalties for the 2018 and 2019 discoveries have nothing to do with the current COVID pandemic. Therefore, the tax administrator recommends the board should deny the request to release and refund penalties resulting from the 2018 and 2019 audit. The tax administrator would not recommend releasing the 2020 penalty due to still not receiving the regular listing. This decision is brought to the Board of Commissioners since the Board of Equalization and Review have already adjourned for 2020. Should the board decide to release any or all of these, authorization comes under 105-312K. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions.
All right, gentlemen, questions for Danny on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, Danny, has any of the taxes been paid for those 3 years?
Yes, all three tax bills have been paid. But what Gersheimer is requesting is a release and refund of the penalties for 2018, 19, and 2020.
Which is $10,650.
Well, I didn't highlight that, but yeah, you had the $1,524 and okay, yeah, $10,650.29.
Mm. Well, since he's paid his taxes, you know, just from, and since this is all penalties, I don't know,
They have
gentlemen.
paid the taxes and penalties.
Do what?
They have paid the taxes and the penalties.
So we would do a refund instead of taking it off, correct?
Correct, if that's what the board chose to do.
Well, I was going to say that if you paid everything up to current, I'd be willing to go 50% off, which would be $5,325.14. But I don't know. It's it would be. You think he has? You think, and I hate to use the word. Let me think a minute and do it another way. Do you anticipate that he will be on time and on target this next year?
Well, that'd be a very hard call. You know, in his letter, he mentioned that they typically pay their taxes on time, or list on time, pay their taxes on time, and there was 1 out of 6 years that they were late on listing. You know, I truly do believe that the penalties for 18 and 19 should stand as they are. The penalties for 2020, like I said, we still have not received their 2020 listing. So, you know, based on when we do receive their 2020 listing, there could be additional value there discovered. I don't know. Nobody knows till we get it. Any other company that would have not, any other time that a company would not have submitted their listing in a timely manner, I would recommend that we do not release these penalties.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jeff. I'm just not sure how it's fair to other taxpayers who, pay on time, and those others who also may have not paid on time and had penalties, and they've paid their penalties. I think we opened the door to dealing with all that if we start, without good cause, not collecting these penalties.
All right, any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'd agree with Jeff too. I was just sitting there thinking, if we set the precedent, obviously the penalties of, he's saying 18 and 19 should stand, and without having a listing for this year, we're kind of in the dark anyway. So I don't see how, in good faith, we could refund these at this point.
Any other comments? All right, for a consensus, leave this item on the agenda. Vice Chair Mulvey,
Yes.
Commissioner Abley.
No,
I'm sorry, sir.
no.
Okay. Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
No, I'm going to vote no.
and I'm going to vote yes. So we got 3-2 on that one to leave that one on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask JR a question.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I'm not sure that is totally legal to use. It involves land and money. Should we leave that, JR, should we leave that on the consent agenda?
Well, there's a pretty good argument for moving that from the consent agenda to the decision agenda, since there is a split on the board.
Is that what you're suggesting, JR, or we just go ahead and put it for decision?
I think that would probably be the most appropriate, although the majority can do as it pleases on that.
Commissioner Britton and Commissioner Mulway, do you have any problems with moving that to a decision?
I do not.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Commissioner Abley and Commissioner Taylor, is it okay with y'all? We'll move it to decision?
Yes.
Okay, move it to decision items. All right. Okay, moving on to the next item is also from Danny, late applications for exclusions. Danny?
Okay. On late applications, the tax department has received 4 late applications for the age exclusions. Persons qualifying for the age exclusion receive a reduction in value of $25,000 or 50% of the home and prime site value, whichever is greater. To qualify, the primary owner must be at least 65 years old or older or totally and permanently disabled. The owner or the household income cannot exceed $31,000 for the previous year, and the home must be their primary residence. So those are protection things that are designed for people that are older and have minimal incomes. But we don't want somebody that lives part-time here in North Carolina and part-time in Florida to receive this unless they can receive it one place but not both. The application period for this type of exclusion is January 2nd through June 1st each year. Due to the applications being late, the assessor's only option was to deny these applications for the current year. These applicants now have the right to either reapply next year or appeal the assessor's decision to the Board of Commissioners. And there is a note on all applications there in the last paragraph that gives them that. So I broke these down into different appeals. The first appeal is for Ms. Elsie Childers, is appealing the tax assessor's decision to the board. Application was received July 21st, 2020. The board must decide if the reason for not applying in a timely manner demonstrates good cause. There is no real definition of good cause. That's up to the individual board. If the Board of Commissioners believes she has proven good cause, then they can grant the authority to the tax assessor to accept the application. If not, then Ms. Childers can reapply next year. Ms. Childers' reason for filing late, and I typed these right off of their applications, couldn't get this completed by June 1st because of the coronavirus. I'm 96 years old and had trouble filling this out. And my comment to this is, if the application had been mailed or received prior to June 1st, it would have been approved. The second appeal, Mr. Ronald Lale is appealing the tax assessor's decision. Mr. Lale is a 25% co-owner residing on this property. The board must decide if the reason for not applying is in a timely manner demonstrates good cause once again. I'll save you reading every little line. If the board believes he has proven good cause, then they can grant the authority to the assessor to accept the application. If not, then Mr. Lale can apply again next year. Mr. Lale's reason for filing late, July 30th, 2020, Burke County Assessor. The following: please find the application for the property tax relief. I understand this form is due before June 1st, but we originally sent the certification of disability form to Social Security office to get filled out, but never got it back, and then found out the office is closed for coronavirus. I took it to my regular doctor, Dr. Burden Valdez. He sent it back to me today. I have dialysis on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but if you can call my sister Patricia Young to let her know that you'll need more information. You can call me in the evenings. Thank you for your help. This is Ron Lell. If this application would have been mailed or received prior to June 1st, it would have been approved. The third appeal is from Christopher and Dawn McNeely. Same thing, they're appealing the assessor's decision. The application was received July the 18th of 2020. The board must decide if the reason for not applying in a timely manner demonstrates good cause. If the Board of Commissioners believes it has good cause, then they can grant the authority to the tax assessor to accept the application. If not, then McNeely's can reapply next year. McNeely's reason for filing late, July 15th, 2020. Dear Burke County Board of Commissioners and Daniel Eisenhower, we're requesting our application for disability exclusion filed after the due date be reviewed. We mailed our application for property tax relief on July 1st. While this is late application, we hope you will consider it for approval at your board meeting. Due to the COVID-19, we are not able to apply for property tax relief by June 1st deadline. Additionally, Chris's doctor finally signed his AV9A, that's the disability form, on July the 14th, and I promptly brought it to the tax office the same day. I was informed by Diane, and I believe, we don't have a Diane here, and I think she just misquoted a name, that it was after the deadline and to try again next year. But after I phoned Mr. Eisenhower, he stated he would present our late application before the Board of Commissioners at the next meeting, most likely in August. I hope and pray that we have shown good cause for failure to make a timely application. We do apologize for any inconvenience. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Chris and Dawn McNeely. If this application would have been mailed or received prior to June 1st, it would have been approved. The fourth appeal, and I apologize for not pronouncing this name correctly, but John Fontenot is appealing the tax assessor's decision to the Board of Commissioners. Application was received July 22nd of 2020. The board must decide if the reason for not applying in a timely manner demonstrates good cause. The board must also decide if Mr. Fortnite qualifies based on income. If the Board of Commissioners believes he has proven good cause and believes he meets the income requirement, then they can grant authority to the tax assessor to accept the application and direct the assessor to approve. If not, Mr. Fortnite can reapply next year. His reason for filing late, explanation for late application. I downloaded the AV9 documents in January 2020 and filled them out according to the instructions. I misunderstood the instructions that I could either have a doctor sign or submit proof of total disability. I submitted my court documents and 2018 tax returns that was determined permanently disabled. I was sent back the AV9 documents with a written note on the bottom of the page. Medical doctor must fill out and date document. I brought the paperwork to Dr. Kadri Alboon's office, 113 Foothills Drive, Morganton. They informed me that this would take weeks to process. Then COVID-19, so I assumed that that was the reason I had not heard back from the doctor to pick up these documents. I called and left a message around May or June and did not hear back. Went to the office and saw a sign they had moved. I found their new office and requested documents, and they could not find them. Luckily, I had a copy of the document that was sent back to me that had a note at the bottom. I brought it to my doctor, and he signed it on 7/20/20. Unfortunately, after the due date, I asked for consideration to accept the late application resubmitted. Thank you, Dr. John Fortnite. Mr. Fortnite's application was not only late, but it does not meet the income requirement. The income requirement includes all income regardless of source. Mr. Fortnite received a settlement for several years back pay in 2019 on a disability claim. This settlement put him extremely over the $31,000 income limit for 2019. This is a non-qualification. There is no need to accept this late application. Based on this year's information, he should be receiving an additional settlement. Should not be receiving an additional settlement. Mr. Fortnite should reapply next year in 2021. The budgetary effect, Appeal 1, The total budgetary effect there will be $620.87. Appeal 2, $79.44. Appeal 3, $291.14. Appeal 4 would be $137.38. And I do recommend that you approve Appeal 1, 2, and 3 and deny Appeal 4. And I'll be.
All right, gentlemen, questions for Danny on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, I would like a question. Danny, do you have any more of these that would be in effect if we extended that file date like 30 days?
We don't have the ability to extend the file date. What you're doing here would be saying that these taxpayers had good cause for a late application.
So it has to be done on a per person reason and explanation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Go ahead, Maynard.
The appeal on number 4, you're saying to deny. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the only reason I'm saying to deny that is because Mr. Fortnite received a large sum of money as a payout on a disability claim. And the general statute says that, it's all monies received. So even though if that payout was for, and I'm just throwing an example out there, for 4 years, and say he got $10,000 a year, strictly an example, not what he got, then that $40,000 would put him over for that year. You can't go back and claim it on the individual years. Does that make sense? Hopefully I didn't lose you on that.
Well, I'm just looking at it, look at the total budget and how it looks, to okay the other 3, and not that one when $137 is involved. But if it's the rule, if it is the rule, it is the rule. And I'm assuming the sum of money was not from insurance or whatever, or pay back for things he had invested. It's the total dollars that he got paid from one source or another. Is that correct?
Total number of dollars he got paid. That's correct.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, let me ask one more to
Yes,
Danny.
sir.
So if he's not happy with that, what's his next step? Does he appeal again?
I don't think that this is not a valuation appeal. I don't believe it could go to the state level. I think it ends here. I would have to ask that question, but would you agree with that, JR?
I would, yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right, anyone else? All right, for a consensus to leave this item on the agenda, Vice Chair Moe,
Yes.
Commissioner Abley,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
and I will vote yes also. All right, thank you. Moving on to the next item is an update of policy for the sale of surplus real property. Danny?
Okay. Gentlemen, back in 2010, the then county attorney and myself brought this policy to the Board of Commissioners, got it approved. And all I'm trying to do here is update the policy a little bit. It's sort of dated itself. So I'm requesting that Section 5, where it says minimum bid, at that point in time, we said the minimum bid amount is based on the cost the county has in the property, plus advertising fees of $125 and attorney fees of $500. And those fees are really outdated as time has gone on and cost has gone up. So I'm want to replace that statement with the minimum bid amount will be the county's actual cost plus closing costs, which includes advertising and attorney fees. Closing costs are determined based on the actual cost at the time of closing. And the other change there is changing the word quitclaim deed to special warranty deed in section 1 of the bid process. I'll be glad to answer any additional questions.
All right, questions for Danny, gentlemen?
Mr. Chairman, it's Jeff. Danny, several places, and JR, this may be a question for you. Several places I noticed in the, I believe the document, the county attorney is referenced. I'm wondering then that we use the Kanye law firm. Are they considered, quote, county attorney, or does that need to be specified differently in this case?
I would be considered the county attorney. They would be considered special counsel for purpose of tax foreclosures. So since I'm local, it probably should stay with me, since I draw most of the county's deeds anyway.
And that's the intent of this, is to stay with the county, named county attorney.
Mr. Chairman.
In the past, we referred to the foreclosure attorney as the tax attorney.
Let me stay with Jeff just a minute, Maynard. You look perplexed. Jeff, you okay?
Yeah, so I guess my question is, does Kanye, do they have any responsibility in this process?
No.
Okay.
Okay, Maynard?
Yes, I just, I had one question, and Danny, I don't know if it'd come up or not, but do we need an exception clause to the policy if the total minimum bid is greater than the tax value, which would apply?
There is a exception in here. If you look at section 4, bid exception, it says the tax assessor along with the county attorney may request the Board of Commissioners to accept a bid less than the minimum amount established if the assessor and the attorney believe it is in the county's best interest. Number 2, the Burke County Board of Commissioners may reject a bid at any time. But yes, that is a statement. Sometimes you have cost in there that's more than the property's worth.
Yeah, I read that, but I just wondered if you know, if it's lower than, I mean, if the cost is more than the value, should we, I guess it can be covered under that. I was just looking for a little more clarity on it.
Well, we would have to bring a bid that was less than that back before the board in order for the board to approve something that was less than the value that the board had set on it. If you recall, we did that back in November of 19 with the Joy Belanger property. And the board approved the lesser value on that one. So it's something that does get done.
Yeah, I understand the policy and the bid exception. I was just trying to save us more money for the lawyer.
Lordy.
All right, any other questions or concerns? All right, for a consensus to leave the item on the agenda, Vice Chair Mulwee,
Yes.
Mr. Abley,
Yes.
Mr. Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
and I will vote yes also. All right. Moving on to our next item is a surplus real property. Danny?
Okay. I believe this is the last one. Anyway, so back when we did this in 2010, the second part of this was to pull our properties and have them deemed as surplus properties, which is part of the requirement before you can actually sell them. So what I have here, I have 4 additional properties that I would like to add to the already deemed surplus real property. We have one at Westview Trail, one at Shady Grove Road, one Mallard Road, and one at Old Highway 18. And you see the recommended minimum bids there that I have put on those. Now, in addition to this, if you look at the surplus owned property grid where all of these are listed, you'll notice in the one column I said minimum bid plus closing cost. Now what I did is I went back on the old list, 2010 list, and we had larger minimum bids on here because we included the closing cost from the former document procedure that had the $125 and the $500 on there. So what I did is I went back and I backed those amounts out, I rounded the actual cost up. If you see like there on the first one, we've got $29.56, $25.35 was our actual cost, and I just rounded it to $2,960. So I did that on all of those. You'll see 3 of them that are highlighted there, the second one, and then a couple on down closer to the bottom. Those are ones that come into the question that Commissioner Taylor had, what if our cost is more than the property's worth? So on those, we originally had a lower bid amount, lower than what it costs. Just, it's better for it to get on the tax scrolls and people pay taxes on it and get it out of our hair. We haven't had any luck on those, but anyway, those 3 I have looked at and recommend a lower than what we've actually got in those. And then, like I say, those properties I'm recommending to the board to change the minimum bid to this value that I have here plus closing cost, like it is now in the document that we you just approved, basically, and add these other 4 to it.
All right.
I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Questions for Danny?
Mr. Chairman, I have one.
Yes, sir.
So Danny, if I buy your second listing there, parcel number 9797,
Mm-hmm.
and you got $500 on that as a minimum bid, correct?
Yes, sir.
What
That's
will be
correct.
what will be my tax rate on that property? 500?
We're not looking at this. We're not looking at the value that's going to be put on the property. We're just looking at what would Burke County sell this property for. So it'd be the $500 plus whatever the closing costs were, which would be advertising, the bid, and attorney costs. And no, we do not go by discounted prices whenever we're doing a value, but
Well, that's one of the reasons I was thinking the way I was thinking, is that's 0.06. That's not even 1/10 of an acre. And
Yeah,
if you add those costs to it, what is that, 1,500, 2,000? You're looking at $2,500 or $10,000 an acre. If it was a full acre.
that one and the other $500 one happen to be condominium lots that sometime Burke County foreclosed on those down at Pine Mountain Lakes, and
Well, the person
we have a minimal value on those lots. They're actually not buildable. Somebody would have to buy all the condominium lots to be able to do something with it.
So the only person who really could benefit from buying it would be the neighbor next door, either
Correct.
side.
Correct.
Okay. So if they're
And
not
that's the reason
interested, really, it's not beneficial for anybody else to buy it, right?
That's true.
Okay.
unless somebody's wanting to do an assemblage.
Doing what?
An assemblage of property, assemble several properties to make one good property.
But they would have to join to do that, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. You wouldn't know that question. I'll not ask it.
All right, any other questions or comments for Danny on this item? All right, for consensus to leave the item on the agenda, Vice Chair Mulway,
Yes.
Commissioner Abley,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes, sir.
and I will vote yes also. All right, thank you, Danny, so very much for all of that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. Moving to items for decision, we don't have any. So that will move us down to our other discussion items. Gentlemen, let me remind you that the county offices will be closed on Monday, September the 7th in observance of Labor Day and JR's birthday, it says here. So we're closed for two things.
A day of mourning.
Yeah. So if you're watching also, please remember to spay or neuter your pets. Please don't litter in Burke County. We are still working on the census. Remind everybody that's watching us, please complete that census. Gentlemen, please remember our regular meeting on September the 15th will be held in the county boardroom. Is there any other discussion items or reports that need to come before the board today? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn, and then I will do the roll call.
So moved.
All right, Vice Chair Mulway,
Yes.
Commissioner Abley,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
and I will vote yes also. All right, we'll stand adjourned, gentlemen.
Well, have a good day.
See ya.